My name is Damola Akintunde. I'm a Nigerian American photographer based in Durham, North Carolina. A lot of my work reflects self-identity, it reflects the idea of body and space, and a lot of my work is in service of showcasing Black womanhood, but also just generally the Black experience across the diaspora. So I started photography back in 2016. At one point, my friends needed photos for their blogs, for their different ventures, grad photos, and I decided I'm gonna pick up a camera just to explore the world around me and document my friends and family. So that was the first kind of insight for me as this being an actual career and possibility. When it comes to planning self-portraits, traditionally for me, it's actually really off the cuff. I don't do a lot of pre-planning. A lot of my self-portraits were more so just me finding different ways to document who I was in that time. And whenever I would get the feeling that I needed to express myself in a certain way, I would just find inspiration in different avenues. And then in my bedroom, in my house, find different ways to set up different backdrops to document myself. So this is the first time that I've able to kind of pre-plan, and I think my self-portraits moving forward will have a little bit more pre-planning. Now that I'm thinking more deeply about what I want to convey in my portraits, it's more pre-planning in terms of getting inspired about composition from other films, from music videos, from other visual storytelling components. So I think it requires me to sit down and think about what story do I want to tell using color, using framing, using makeup, beauty, using styling. So I think now I'm being more intentional about what those different pieces, what they invoke to the audience and also what they represent for me as a person. I believe that me having a degree in psychology and also having a minor in medical anthropology informs the way that I approach storytelling, because a lot of that, those classes and courses and books that I read actually taught me a lot about the experience of the human, especially when it comes to self-identity, when it comes to understanding who we are in the context of society. And a lot of those courses were about healing as well. And I think that's why I wanted to be a doctor initially, is because I'm really interested in the idea of healing others and being in service of others. And then I realized that that concept of healing lives beyond medicine. It lives in also visual storytelling, being able to see yourself, being able to have narratives that represent who you are as a person in the archive of humanity ultimately. So Carrie Mae Weems' The Kitchen Table series is definitely a piece, or rather pieces that invoke a lot of self-identity and self-reflection for me. And she has spoken about the series as though those people, or that woman in her portraits, is a muse or a character rather than her herself. And it's really informing me of ways to think about creating characters in my self-portraits. I've realized that my self-portraits allow others, especially a lot of Black women, to see themselves. So I tend to think about what piece of my identity do I want to reflect in this self-portrait, and how does that also fit into the overall narrative about Black womanhood. So she has really taught me to think deeper about the self-portraits not just being me as the physical self, but also about this character I'm creating that represents different parts of identity, of self-reflection, of understanding who we are. I think a lot of editors, I'm assuming, when they see my work, especially being focused in Black portraiture, they understand that I might have the ability to connect with the people that they're featuring in these stories. And I believe that me focusing on identity as well really helps editors and creative directors understand that I'm able to come into this space and bring a new lens and a new perspective when it comes to documenting people and making sure that their humanity is centered as well. You have to be not afraid to fail in real time. I've been definitely, as a self-taught photographer, for example, I've had a lot of instances where I was unsure about what I was doing. I didn't know exactly the technical skills for certain things I wanted to do, but it required me to just try in real time and put it out there and be okay with it not being received well. But more times than not, I've gotten amazing reception to the work that I create even if I personally wasn't so sure about it. So sometimes there's an element of letting things go and hoping for the best, and you're usually really rewarded when you don't lean too much into like the what ifs and you're leaning more into the what's possible, what's next of creating. So I definitely encourage everyone to find ways to be okay with failing, because that failure makes you a better creative ultimately. This self-portrait series is actually inspired by my ongoing project, Your Presence Spreads Beyond These Walls. And it's a short film and photo series that will kind of capture the coming of age of me post-pandemic, during the pandemic, trying to find my way. And it's going to have different world building opportunities for me to share different parts of my identity and hopefully allow other, especially Black women, to feel comfortable to explore all the different parts of their identity. So I have been using Format since the beginning of my website development. I actually didn't have a website starting out, and my friend Gabrielle Ione-Hickman was like, you need to have a website. And I was really nervous about the idea of creating a website. I knew it was important in order for me to have a place to put my portfolio and also have folks contact me if needed. So I did a quick Google search and Format came up, and it was really easy for me to put it together, and that has been the only platform I've used ever since, and I'm still really happy with the way that it's usable. And I believe personally a lot of the projects I've gotten and commissions was because of my website and how clean and clear about the stories that I tell. So I think it's really important to have a really good portfolio for folks to really understand who you are as an artist.